Oh, I will do that. Except I didn't purchase it on Amazon.
That's okay.
Yeah, you can still do it?
I think so.
Okay.
Hi,
All right.
everybody. Thursday.
Hey, we are here. Hey, welcome to another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I'm Dr. Paula Ruffin.
I'm Dr. Erica Peabody, and the weeks fly by, and here we are every
Oh my
Thursday,
God.
1 p.m.
No kidding. Boy, lots to talk about today.
There is.
We haven't, I think, is it 2 weeks now that we skipped over one of our principles?
Yeah, so last week we were supposed to do 21, but we didn't. And so we pushed it off to today because our conversation just got really good last week, and we just didn't get a chance to share all that much there.
It was so good. And also principle number 21, each principle requires its own sort of like glory.
Yeah.
And principle 21, when you guys find out what it is, like it's so good. So good.
This one.
Which I'll tell you also before we read principle 21, I was taught. So last summer, you probably remember when I went to Polyface Farm down in Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
And I had I met this woman. So she's one of the organizers of the event, Dr. Sina McCullough. She's amazing, and she's a researcher, and so she really like digs deep into a lot of like the corruption in the food industry, and the chemicals in our environment and autoimmune issues and stuff. So I sent her an email last week, I think, and I just said, asked if she would be on my YouTube channel on my Sunday Night Live. And she responded, and she was like, I would love to. And of course, I remember you. And I was like, great. So we jumped on a call on Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. And we were just like talking about like all the things that we could talk about. And she's like, well, like, and she went into this whole thing about, she's like, basically talking about the human body and how the human body operates. And it's not, excuse me, it's not scientific. She used another term for it. Bioenergy, I think she used, was the term. And she went into how like we're energetic beings and this and that. And I go, let me stop you right there. And I said, you need to be a guest on Chiropractic is Sexy, because this is what we talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
She's not a chiropractor. She's just a regular human, not like we're not all regular humans,
right?
Who understands how human life works. Mm-hmm. And it is eclectic, but if you guys really, we hope that we're fleshing out a lot of these just thoughts and questions for you to say, yeah, a lot of times you just can't explain things with science. And that's where I titled this, it's not in front of me, but it was like, is life scientific or is it something else? And I think that's going to feed into our principle today. Yeah. So anyway, so she's another potential guest for our show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
AP squared. How are you?
It's funny when I stream the way that I do, it doesn't let me now comment at all. Like I don't get to comment at all. So just know that Dr. Paula is commenting for us all. Well, she's commenting for everybody.
So open the live stream as not in. So open another tab.
That's okay. I'll leave it. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you can. About it. I don't want to bother people with. We can figure out details other time.
Okay.
Yeah, no big deal. So yeah. So here we are. There's so much that's gone on in this last week, but one of the kind of a hot topic, in fact, especially with our principal this week, is the immune system. We're always dealing with upgrades, and it's funny. I had a patient in this morning, and I was like, what do you do to celebrate the end of the year? And she said, well, the last 2 years, she's a teacher. I just finished Tuesday. Last 2 years, I got COVID. I was like, okay, so you finish up school and get COVID right away. But we were just talking about this a lot this past week, and in practice. But Dr. Paul and I could talk constantly. But we're just talking about how cool it is that when the body has something that is kind of sort of invading and helping you upgrade. Every fever is an upgrade, just so everybody out there knows that. But the body is like, oh, there's a foreign invader here. Red alert, red alert, red alert. And then it gets all these cool processes on board for us to heal. And it just when you really sit back and look at it and think about it and really know the physiology behind it, and even if you don't know, it's a miracle. It's so phenomenal. And if your body can do that better and better and better due to the things you put in your body and the way you live your lifestyle, why would you not want to?
Well, think about also all the bugs and the foreign invaders. And that that's why it also makes sense that we are like 90% bugs,
Oh,
because
yeah.
if we did not have this synergistic relationship with the environment around us, we couldn't stay alive. We're just a human form of all the bacteria and bugs
Everything.
around us, right?
Everything. And everybody knows, like you could easily say gut biome these days, right? You could
Mhm.
say that and people would know what you're talking about, that there's lots of microorganisms in our gut that helps us do all the things that we need to do. It's also a main player in our immune system. But gut biome is so like compartmentalized, like the whole body is a microbiome, which is what you're saying. But it's like everyone thinks so gut biome, and we need to wash our bodies and we need to flush our bodies from the inside. But truly, I mean, we are completely, I would be curious. I mean, my desk I'm sitting at right now is 20 years old. I got it when I first opened my practice. What is on this desk? I mean, and I wash it regularly. It's not like that's a big deal, but like our whole world is that. And when there's a big foreign invader, then it just, goes to work with that. It doesn't need to attack it, but it goes to work with it. Like, how do we work with this? How do we get our bodies back to homeostasis? And it's really, really, really an awesome thing.
Well, and we have these foreign invaders at all times. I think
Mhm.
that's what people forget,
Mhm.
is that whatever this thing is that's taken me down the last couple weeks,
Mhm.
it was probably living in me anyway, right? Or I've been exposed to it multiple times. And so what has happened that, my immune system was struggling and it was able to find a wormhole and get in there and take root.
Yeah.
And that's where, and Dr. Eric and I talk about this all the time about if we didn't do all the things on a
Mhm.
regular basis, what could this potentially look like? How would this actually be affecting us? And so that's why it's even that much more important to recognize that these things are in us at all times. So living with all of the pillars that we always talk about and maximizing them as often as you can is so critical, because you have to be killing these things on a not just a daily basis, but like on a minute by minute basis.
Mhm.
So you've got to really like build up your body's immune armor, right?
Yeah, for sure. I had 2 conversations in the past 24 hours, one over Facebook with a patient behind the scenes that was telling me that she's going in for knee replacement. I think she's maybe 50, maybe not even. And I said, that's great that you're going to do that, but get everything on board. I'm like, the doctors can say, the MDs will say, it's 6 weeks of recovery. It's 12, then you got the 3 month is the next sort of cornerstone. I'm like, it's a good year to work with a joint replacement. And I said, and here's the thing, you need to not only get everything on board right now, but also you need to have a lot of sorry, I caught viral sorry. Okay. Yes. I was like, what'd she say? No, but I said you have to get the lifestyle choices in place, because if your right knee is going in July, guess what? Your left knee has been making up for your right knee. And she's like, I need to get adjusted. And we talked I've seen her for years. Her son is a junior in high school, or did he just graduate senior? Anyway, I've seen her for years and years and years. And every time she comes in, we talk about it again. Get this part of your life, make this part of your life. And then she slips off. And then I get a DM behind the scenes. And I got to get blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, get your lifestyle on board. And then today I had I think he's 20. I could actually look him up, but I'm not sure that it really matters. Let's just see. So he is, let's see, 21 years old. And he is, when you look at him from the outside, you would say he's a very good looking kid. He's got great, like he's trim. He's not super strong necessarily, but he's not weak, like just real average strength. And he said he's going to work at a camp for the next 10 days. And he's like, but I really got to watch what I'm eating, because I was just diagnosed with fatty liver disease, and he is 21 years old and in a good looking body. And I'm like, this has everything to do with your choices that you're making. And he comes from, just a family of not that great of health. They're all under chiropractic care, but it's not everything. It's eat well, move well, think well, drink your water, get your rest, and get adjusted. Those are our pillars we're working off of, which then allow us to live healthier, stronger, and optimize our energy and our life, and then just living in general. So, and feeding the innate intelligence, which I'm going to go right to the mission of the innate intelligence, which is number 21.
Let's hear it. I'm waiting for this one.
I know. It's so good. I mean, it just gets really good. Okay, so the mission of our innate intelligence, which is, remember, the energy from above down along our information superhighway that goes and takes care of everything in the body and animates us and keep us going in space. Its mission is to maintain the material of the body of a living thing in active organization. So this just ties so into, I love the phrase active organization, which in one word would be called homeostasis, which when we're out, it brings back. When we're low, it brings up. When we're out, it brings back. When high fevers goes high, it's when we get cold, we shiver. It's always coming back to homeostasis. But it depends on how much you demand the work to get it back to homeostasis. What are you doing with your body to demand it get back to homeostasis? And that active organization, I mean, mind blown. If you don't sit back and say, I came from one sperm and one egg and made this, and this in my 4th decade of life is doing this, we should be wandering around like, what? This is amazing. We should literally be like, this is the awesomest thing ever. I'm going to go and maximize my day every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
I'm always like bewildered at people who are like, I don't exercise. I hate exercising. I don't, oh, hi, Lou. Hi, little handsome boy. It's like, Mama, what you doing in there? Yeah. So people who just they declare, that, and they're proud. They're super proud of the fact that they don't embrace movement or healthy lifestyle or proper eating. And I'm like, and I can see it in you. But to your point about your patient, it's not always how you look on the outside either. It really, it is a foundation. And oftentimes too, and I have patients like that, and they look lean. But that is the opposite. That's malabsorption. So they're not absorbing their nutrients properly. They're probably MTHFR positive, which is a genetic marker that doesn't allow the liver to do things properly and allow your body to detoxify the way it needs to. So there's probably toxic buildup. There's 100% toxic buildup. So because for a 21-year-old to have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, that is toxic overload.
For sure.
And so if you don't have all of the other pillars in place in your life that are allowing your body to maximize and clear those toxins, it's going to build up. And then you end up with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so that's chemical exposure, which has come from the food, the water, the environment. Maybe your parents spray Roundup. Maybe you use Roundup. That is, or wash the floors with bleach. I mean, these are common things that people have been led astray to think that they are safe for us to use in everyday life. And they just they're giving young people non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Right.
And that can be a death sentence at a young age. So pay attention to these stories.
Right. So I talked to him a little bit about it because I see him regularly anyway. So I didn't need to like blast him. Right. And so he said, the great thing about it is that it's made me aware of what I need to eat. And I cut out red meat, which that's not where you go. But I'm like, as long as awareness is starting, I can then help him to figure this out. Cause I'm like, it's the sugars, it's the carbs, it's the detox pathways, but that's not for a 21-year-old guy to hear from me right in this particular moment. But what he did say is he said, and if you haven't noticed, just in case, because you haven't seen me in like 2 weeks, he said, I'm actually down 6 pounds already just because I've cleaned up a little bit. And so it's like these pounds are like melting away. And he didn't have a lot to lose. He still doesn't. I'm curious to see how his 8 days of being a camp counselor will shift his life, because he's super nervous about going in, which I think is awesome. And for this particular guy, it's like, it's probably going to be an experience, even just 1 week, that will change kind of his outlook on life and humans and kids and all that, just the exposure there. So I'm just like, that is awesome. I'm glad that you know this now, because you're only so old and you have a lot of years ahead of you. And the one thing is, so I had this other patient in this morning. She should have been here 25 years ago. Not joking. I wasn't even in practice 25 years ago. But she said, last time
she
I
should have
had
been at your door waiting for you.
She should have been like making an appointment, like pre-appointment 4 years prior to me graduating.
Yeah.
But no, she said 25 years ago, I went to a chiropractor who saved me from this low back pain. This is the last time I felt it. And I'm like, well, it's too bad you haven't been under care for the last 25 years. And she said, for some reason, now it feels like my body is, it's like stopping me in my tracks, and it's doing all this stuff. Again, going back to that active organization. And I said, here's the thing. And this is how we talk. Dr. Paula and I talk about this all day. Our bodies, again, sperm, egg came together, created this in my 4th decade of life. But, the baby's born, and it's so freaking amazing. We literally, and I'm going to say this ad nauseum, we should be walking around in total amazement. But I said, our bodies are never making a mistake. Never. Mm-hmm. Innate intelligence doesn't make mistakes. Innate intelligence doesn't wear the knees down. Innate intelligence doesn't make spasms in wrong places. When our body gives us the signals, which is bringing this particular client in, maybe this is her 4th visit, maybe 3rd, but I'm seeing her every day. I'm only here 3 days a week, but I'm seeing you every day. And so the innate intelligence isn't making a mistake. It's stopping you in your tracks so that you stay safe. And the muscle spasms are stopping you in your tracks so that you're not creating more damage. Unfortunately, it's wildly inconvenient. I feel the same way at times. Dr. Paula feels the same way. It's really inconvenient because we have a lot of our lives to live and a lot of things to do in a day. It is never making a mistake. So think about that when your body's giving you a symptom, like today, for instance, and I've been telling Dr. Paula and our other friend, Dr. Anna, like I have a raging headache, raging. And what I've done is I've increased my protein because I know I don't have enough protein, and I've decreased any excessive carbs, but any kind of anything. The only thing I know what would help this headache is ice cream. I'm not going to do that this time because I got it over the hump. But you can also see in my skin, it's clearer, like it's light and clear today. And I know that my whole body is light and clear, but it takes going through. I could probably go take a Advil or something, but I'm like, let me get a little bit more electrolytes on board. I'm going to get a nice walk this afternoon. I got up and ate really good this morning. I've eaten already, I'm ravaging my closets for more protein because my body is like, do something here. I'm fine, but it's really inconvenient to have feeling yucky and have to see patients. And I know my body is not making a mistake, and it's not due to lack of Advil, lack of Tylenol, or lack of ice cream in my system. It's doing a thing.
I might go with the lack of ice cream. That could be a thing. That could be a thing.
That's just going to set me back again. I mean, ice cream is my weakness. It's usually about once a week. But
it's potato chips.
It solves a lot. It does solve a lot. But I need to get to Sunday nights are usually my ice cream time. I'll skip dinner and eat ice cream. So,
well, so my whole thing was, and I've been sick for 2 freaking weeks. So again, what is it, right? So there's this lifestyle that we live. And so that's the other thing too. Like we are not sitting up here on some high ground saying you should do this. Well, we are, but we're in it with you guys. Like we are right here in the trenches. And so, and we've had many conversations about being open and honest and real about what it requires to keep the body in homeostasis or in balance, and that we have to be able to. These are signals. This is the body saying we're struggling and we need something, and it's our responsibility to listen to it.
Yes.
Because according to this principle, if we don't continue to feed that power, it will continue to do things like give us viruses that actually manifest into symptoms. And, you know, I'm this ugly green thing. I mean, there's everything in there. There's everything. Greens, vitamin C, there's creatine in here. I put creatine in here because I haven't been able to work out in 2 weeks. I have been able to do nothing but lay on the couch and sleep when I'm not here. And I don't want to risk my muscle that I've worked so hard to gain. And I feel like I'm losing it. So creatine I put that in there because I'm like, that's going to help me preserve that. And on the flip side of that, and Dr. Erica's talking about like increasing protein, we know that protein and we know our muscle mass, that is a guard for us against these things. So if I wasn't somebody, or if I were somebody that didn't work out, I'd probably be even sicker. You know, our muscle mass is a massive, massive armor for us. So, you know, get out, lift weights. If you don't have access to a gym or weights, there's a lot you can do with your body weight that helps you to do body weight type exercises that will be just as challenging as getting out and lifting weights. But you got to do it. You've got to build up this muscle mass because it only gets less as we get older.
Right. And it's 12 days is when atrophy starts. You have 12 days. That's it. And then atrophy starts. So I can tell you if there's any way to preserve and to age really well, and there's a really great book out there called Forever Strong. And it's talking about
her, by the way.
No. What's the doc? What's her name?
Dr. Gabrielle Lyon.
Yes.
She's amazing. She's got a great podcast. Yeah.
So she has an incredible book that talks about, you know, getting ahead of the game. So cachexia is body wasting, right? And there's actually, this is running kind of rampant with some of the weight loss drugs out there is not cachexia, because that's actually related to illness, wasting.
Are you thinking of sarcopenia? Sarcopenia is muscle wasting.
Cachexia at the end when you're ill, and then you get into like full on body wasting.
Okay.
And so, so like the overall global, like end of life illness when you're like emaciated and all of that. But, so anyway, it's one way to stay really ahead of it all and build your reserves. We have to be building our reserves now. And that happens every single day. Normally, normally this time of year, June 1st, actually, so it's the 6th now, June 1st, I usually put my gym membership on hold. And I freeze it for the summer because I love to be outside. I love to not drive to the gym to go for a walk or something like that. And I have another gym locally, and this one I have to drive a distance to get to anyway. But this year, after I read that book, it's like, nope, I'm not going to freeze that, because when I drive that far to go to the gym, I am nose down to the grind when I'm there. And I don't find myself in that particular mode unless I drive specifically somewhere and I'm paying the fees to be there, and then I'm getting my money's worth. And so this is the first year in probably over a decade that I haven't froze my summertime membership, because I'm a different kind of person when I'm there. And I'd rather continue over the next 3 months to build my strength inside of the gym. I'm also part of a hot yoga studio and building strength there and doing all the things, and a kettlebell gym, all the things. But that particular gym, I get into a different mode there. And it's with the people around me, because there's a lot of people working extra hard. Nobody's there to have conversations and kind of shoot the crap with everybody. Like, it's just get in, get out. And when people actually stop me, sometimes I'll blow by patients just because I'm so in the mode there. And I don't even realize who was even around me, but people will stop me and they'll say, hey, can I get your attention for a second? I've never seen someone work so hard. They're like, you are killing it here. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I just have that specific place that I go into this different kind of mode there. And I'm just going to keep that going this year just because I read that book.
It's so on point. And my story is, and I've always been in the gym. And I think like Dr. Erica, we've always been people who have exercised. And I got into boxing and kickboxing for a few years. And I loved it so much that is all I was doing. And then yoga. And I started to recognize about 2.5, 3 years ago, I felt like I was losing strength. So even though I was in there and I was punching this bag, I was losing strength. And that's when I said, okay, that's it. I canceled the boxing membership, which I love. I had to make a decision though, because, as a 57-year-old woman, I knew how important my muscle mass was. And I'd always been somebody who had good muscle mass, but for the first time in my life, I was like, holy shit, I'm losing it. So I got back into the gym, and that was the same thing. Like Wednesday, Friday, because of my work schedule, those were the only 2 days I could get in there. But also with yoga, I don't get the same lower body workout that in yoga that I do in the gym. It's just a different thing. So the gym and pushing the weights is so, so important, because there's a lot of things we can do in staying active, but you cannot press your body hard enough anywhere else but in the gym, in my humble opinion. So, and oftentimes too, just the differences between exercises. And how many times have you said to your patient, do you lift weights? And they're like, oh, I walk every day. People don't understand. The general public, maybe we have to have this as one of our topics, is that the general public doesn't understand the difference between exercising, stretching, and weightlifting. Or if you say to somebody, are you stretching your hips every day? Well, I walk every day. That's not a stretch. That is not a stretch. What are you doing for your flexibility? Well, I walk every day. And I'm using, I walk every day because it's such a common answer. And walking every day does nothing for your upper body. It doesn't even, it's great, but it doesn't even fully challenge your cardiovascular system. Right. I'm not saying don't do it, but I walk, and I walk at a pretty good clip, but I still need to get on my mountain bike, and I got to push some hills to really get that lung expansion that I require to make myself feel like I have good cardiovascular function. So stretching, strength training, cardiovascular.
I actually just wrote that down. I just wrote that down after principle number 33. That's number 4 under the 33. One thing I was just going to say is, if you are out walking, one of the ways to think about it, yes, dang, she looks great for 57. Heck yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. She's my inspiration. But to walk like you're late for your plane.
So true. So yeah, for sure.
Like you're waiting for your plane, and you'll get your heart pumping. And then the other thing I talk to my patients about is that, static stretching is one thing. And after a certain point in life, our bodies don't necessarily love a long static stretch. Like, it's really good to do more of like a rocking, not ballistic, but like more of like getting in a stretch, coming out of a stretch, adding your breath into it, which obviously we do a ton with yoga. But I can tell you one thing for sure. When we were in gym class and it was like, hold 20 seconds, hold 20 seconds, ain't cut it. 20 seconds does not cut it anymore. Not even close. So I always tell my patients, we have to be in these stretches a minute to 5 minutes. And some of them, especially like calves and things like that, 10, just depending on what you're working with. But I'm like, we need to spend a significant amount of time in these stretches. Like the 20-second, no, that's good for 10 years old 18 years old, maybe gym class. I mean, as a senior in high school, we're still kind of pushing it with 20-second hold. I don't know where that came from, but that's
Probably
nothing.
the American College of Sports Medicine that
Oh
also
my
said it's
gosh.
contraindicated to bend over and touch your toes,
I'm
right?
totally ignorant.
You remember that? I remember that was all my training, right? I mean, I was ACSM certified. There was another, I was just like back in the late 80s, early 90s. I had like 2 or 3 different
Primary
certifications.
certification. I was through AFA. So there was
AFA, that was it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember going to yoga for the first time, and I was like, these are all contraindicated movements. I'm like, you're not supposed to squat down past 90 degrees, 45 degrees. You're not supposed to bend over and touch your toes. You're certainly not supposed to bend over, touch your toes, and twist up. You're
No. No.
And then I was
Squat,
like,
revolve, squat. No. Malasana with a revolve. No.
I'm like, what do they know that I don't? And then it was like this epiphany. And I went, wait a minute. The ACSM is governed by the the AMA, the American Medical Association. And when we think about Eastern and Western medicine, yoga it's all Eastern principles. And if you have a spine that is supposed to bend forward and bend backwards, don't ever go past extension. What? Don't ever rotate. Your spine is meant to do that. Like, why would you not train your body to do that? Like,
well, it's funny because I have even the bend a squat beyond 90 degrees with your knees. Okay, so this is a practical example because I think about this every day. So every morning, I have the big guy, the big dog. I have a little 6-pound multi-poo. And I can tell you, if I come at him with his leash, by bending forward over him, he's not having it. He is not having it. If I squat down fully and have him give me a hug, because I don't want to constantly be chasing this little dog, right? So I'm working with his psychology too. I literally have to go to a deep malasana squat with these mid and upper 4th decade of life knees. Thank goodness I'm doing that. And I'm thankful for that little guy because I'm conscious about that squat first thing in the morning, 2 or 3 times during the day, and another time at night because I can't come to him like that. And so it's funny because people, as you get into the later years, they'll say, what exercises am I supposed to do? Now, I could be a personal trainer as well. I'm not, and I don't have the time for it. But what I can tell you is look around for some functional things that you have to do regularly in life. And sit down on the couch, stand up, do that 5 times before you sit down. You know what I mean? Like put your jacket on, especially as you're getting 7th and 8th decade of life. Put your jacket on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, then put it on. Do those kinds of things. Go up your stairs, come down your stairs, go around your island 6 times before you stop. And you know what I mean? It's all of those things. So looking around in life as you're doing, figuring out what's functional in your life. And that's really where we need to focus our body movements on. But it's like not squat past 90 degrees with my knees.
90, yeah.
Peter is like, peace out, mama. And I'm chasing, and he is fast, super fast. I'm like, the only way I can get him to stand there and approach me is if I get down to that 6-pound level. I'm like, you little twerp. But he makes me think about it every day. He does.
Yeah.
And that malasana squat that I can get into in yoga and then twist and all that. Like over the last 3 weeks, I've had sort of this low grade headache, but I've also haven't been able to move my spine right. And then I'm like, okay, my body's clearly working with something and I'm going to push to tolerance, everything like a little bit beyond, get myself super hydrated. I need to get in the sauna. I need to do some other things too. But yeah, it's like our bodies are speaking to us. But anyway.
And keeps us going in everyday life. I mean, so when we talk about, if we just go back to homeostasis and balance, as humans, we do more and more each and every day of our lives as we get older to deliberately move ourselves away from balance. If we just recognize that flexibility and strength are key pillars for longevity and aging, and flexibility and strength keep us as close to homeostasis and balance as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But what do? We get chairs that lift us up out of, we don't use our legs anymore. What's that?
The Upsy Daisy chair.
Upsy Daisy chairs. Like we deliberately do things that move us away. We don't challenge our bodies. And Dr. Erica, you've probably had multiple patients over the years who've asked you, can you give me stretches? And oh, yes, I can. But tell me, what is it that you're looking to do? And that, well, just because of this pain or whatever it is, okay, great. And then I will tell them, do you exercise? Do you go to yoga? Well, no. Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you this list. You're going to put it by your bedside. It's going to get covered up by a whole bunch of stuff and you're never going to look at it. Mm-hmm. No, that won't happen. Okay. And then, a week, 2 weeks goes by. Hey, how's the exercises going?
What exercises?
Yeah. What exercise? Oh yeah. The ones I gave you. Yeah. The ones you demanded from me. Like literally they get mad, right? Mm-hmm. I need exercises. You said you were going to give me exercises. Okay. Well, so most of the time what I do now is I just say, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to commit to 30 minutes to 1 hour of yoga every week. Mm-hmm. If not twice a week, start at once. If not twice, you can stream it. You can find a studio. I highly recommend finding a studio because, and then I go through, I'm going to give you this and it's going to go sit on your nightstand and you're just flashed a patient. Oh, it only had his first name. Good. It's going to sit on your nightstand and you're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So it's the commitment to do it, which is going to, like Dr. Erica said earlier, she's a whole different human when she drives herself to the place and goes in. That's a commitment. She's paying for the membership. You guys, you can do yoga in your house, but it is not the same. It is absolutely not the same. The community, when we talk about also what it requires for longevity, having a community is one of the pillars of longevity. These are community is one of the biggest pillars when it comes to these centenarian communities, the blue zones around the world. So you need a community. So please find a community. Yoga. I'm not a big Pilates fan. Do you want to weigh in on that? It doesn't give me the same feeling, I guess, or
so Pilates is great, but it's more, I like it for like segments, not for segments of time, not for the community of it. Mm-hmm. I think some of the newer Pilates studios, I think there's that one in Milford. I think they have a real good culture there too. But quite frankly, every Pilates studio that I've ever seen is under deep fluorescent lighting. I would never work out under fluorescent lighting. All it's ever going to do, like when I see pictures, like, because I'll think, oh, I got to go check that studio out. I'm not working out under that fluorescent lighting like that. Not that deep and not that lit up of a fluorescent lighted space. And not everybody understands that, and that's okay. But I feel that would take the energy from my body rather than giving me energy. Where the low lit yoga studios and then my gym, I have very high ceiling gym, like it's massive, and it's probably some sort of LED of some sort, but it's so far up there and there's a ton of natural light around. It's a very different than a Pilates studio, which it has, like usually a brownstone or what am I saying? Like a strip mall style. So it's a long, narrow, built out beautifully. Usually they have the reformers and all that. It's not my preference because you can get a lot of that core strength from yoga and other things. So I love Pilates for certain things. I love it for certain segments of time, but not as a culture necessarily, if that makes sense. There was one thing that you were talking about too, when the body, like we test our bodies and the body works off of supply and demand always. That's definitely one of the principles. I don't know if we went over that already in here. I think we did. Cause and effect was one, is basically it, but supply and demand. But the innate intelligence, will to live, is so massive. Like The body's will to live, the body's will to get through, the body's will to transgress, to transcend, to do all the things it needs to do to get to tomorrow. Take a second with yourself. All the things we do to our bodies on a daily basis, and then weekly basis and monthly basis, especially if you're not being that nice to your vessel, the body's and the innate intelligence will to make it to tomorrow is astounding, absolutely astounding. And that goes back to that, the mission of innate intelligence is to maintain the material of the body of a living thing in active organization. And that, I get chills from head to toe. That is so powerful and not to be underestimated.
Gosh, I never thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And how often have you looked at someone and you go, wow, they're a train wreck, physically, mentally, you can just tell this person is not caring for their human frame in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that the body survives, right? It survives through
Wants to.
all of that. I've got a good friend of mine, and this also is where like there's genetics and epigenetics too, right? So people are like, oh, it's just bad genetics. I mean, when we talk about the reverse cervical curve, right? The neck and the curve in the neck being reversed. And so many are like, oh yeah, it's genetic. And I'm like, it is not genetic. It is traumatic. It is injury. And the problem with that is that we get stuck in this cycle of well, it's it was my parents, and so it's my destiny too.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to think about like some people, a good friend of mine that I grew up with, his mom and dad, both heavy smokers. Dad was super overweight. Mom was skinny as a rail because she was diabetic, and they neither one of them ate a nutritious thing in ever in their lives. I'd known him since I was 13 years old. Multiple packs of cigarettes a day, pots and pots of coffee a day. And both his mom and dad lived to be, I think, just 80. I think mom might have maybe 82 and dad was maybe 80. And we were all in awe of the fact that they made it that far. And I'm like, the adulteration of the human body that took place with these people. And so I tell my friend, I'm like, that is genetics. And you better thank the freaking Lord,
Mm-hmm.
because their baseline genetics are incredible, that they could take the epigenetics, the environmental insults, and pile it upon their actual genetics so badly and survive that. I go, you have the opportunity to live to 100 or more if you took care of himself. And sadly, he doesn't. And that's the sad part of it, right?
Yeah. And some people just choose that as their destiny. And that gets into a mindset, which is a whole nother discussion. But I can tell you, I've seen it firsthand. My father should have died 9 times. He's passed away now, but like the way that he lived and the things that he did, and just watching that, like, it's amazing. I know I have strong genetics. It doesn't mean that I don't need to do what I need to do to keep myself well and make sure the epigenetic that covers the gene expression, that creates gene expression, that still needs to be on point. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I do know. And I mean, you guys have been in this situation, like you get so sick. It's like you just are dying. Like there's no way you're going to make it through the day because, something hits so quickly or been in an accident. The will to live, to get to tomorrow, that is truly the mission of the innate intelligence, is that active organization and the reaction to something and then reorganizing. Reacting to something, reorganizing. And that's why we were talking about right in the beginning, every fever is an upgrade. It gives the body to react to something and reorganize the structure. Like Dr. Paula hasn't felt well, in the last couple of weeks. Her body is going to be stronger than ever moving forward. stronger than ever. But she also
I
knows
couldn't do my live stream Sunday.
Yeah, you're doing all
because
the
I was napping through the live. I was napping at that point in time on Sunday. I was like, there's no way I can't come on here.
Right.
And I appreciate everybody's patience while I went through it. So
all good. Sometimes it's just, we do have to take a time out. So
for sure. Well, do you want to
Yeah.
okay, reread that?
Okay.
Because this is a good one. This is
It's
really
so good. I'm starring this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
highlight it.
Yeah, that's one of our favorites for
We're
sure.
gonna revisit that along with principle number 6, which everyone talks about all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So the mission of innate intelligence is to maintain the material of the body of a living thing in active organization. And then number 22 is the amount of innate intelligence. There is 100% of innate intelligence in every living thing, the requisite amount proportional to its organization.
Oh, that's good.
It's so good.
That's good. We get to talk about, this is where we get to talk about when you have your appendix out, when you have your tonsils out, when you have anything removed. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a good one.
It is good.
Awesome.
So make sure you're back here Thursday, 1 week from today, 1 o'clock. We appreciate all of you being here. Dr. Paula, you're a rock star.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to go take a nap now.
Bye. We
love you guys so much for showing up for us every single week, and we will see you next week. See you soon. Bye.